Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I would argue that Superman is the most important fictional character in American culture. Without him there would be no superheroes, no believing a man can fly, and no truth, justice, in the American way. That might sound a little hyperbolic, even in the mythological sense. Surely some other character would have been created to fill in the void, right? Not in the unique way that Superman has evolved along with our culture, embodying some changes and resisting others. One of the ways to trace this evolution and the importance of the character to our culture is by examining his presence in the world of animation, where storytellers face the least amount of restrictions. For this series, we'll be chronicling highlights of Superman's career in cartoons and animated series. Superman first appeared in moving pictures in the Fleischer cartoon shorts released by Paramount between 1941 and 1943. Wanting to capitalize on the popularity of the character in comics, Paramount asked Max and Dave Fleischer's animation studio to produce the series. The story goes that the Fleischers felt they were too busy for the project, but not wanting to damage a relationship with the studio by refusing, they asked for an exorbitant budget for the project, hoping the studio would pass. Instead, Paramount negotiated, and Fleischer Studios received the record amount of $50,000 in 1940s currency to produce a cartoon. That budget can be seen in the quality of the pieces. Many commentators on the web have extolled the technical advances and beauty of the series, but beneath the lavish backdrops and rotoscoping lies a significant step in the evolution of America's greatest superhero. We know, for example, that the Fleischers were responsible for giving Superman the power of flight. Until then, the Man of Tomorrow could only literally leap tall buildings in a single bound. But after deciding the action looked silly when animated, the studio received permission to have the character fly instead. In addition, the series cemented the Art Deco look of Metropolis that would later take root in comics and even be brought to live action in 2006's Superman Returns. Long before John Williams' immortal Superman theme, the music for the Fleischer series became so identified with the character that it was used in the live-action serials that came later in the decade in 1948. And the intro, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and so on, was brought back for the Adventures of Superman television series in the 50s, along with the image of Superman, hands on hips, dissolving into mild-mannered Clark Kent. All of these elements combine to capture a sense of wonder, unlike any Fleischer or any other cartoon at the time. Cartoons were whimsical and charming, but never took themselves too seriously. In the Superman series, though, one can feel in the very introduction a reverence for the character. This wasn't just some cutesy or even sensationalized figure made to invoke a cheap thrill. He was a hero come to save us in a dark time in U.S. history. Between the Depression and World War II, people latched on to the solid morality and selflessness of a character who had unfathomable power, but refused to use it for self-gain, and instead chose to serve others. As the nation came to terms with its own new power and tried to realize its responsibilities on the international stage, Superman set the example for both individual and nation in a time when many were sliding into the dark comfort of moral ambiguity. The influence of these Superman shorts is unending, and speaks to their seminal incarnation of the core of the character. In addition to affecting the live-action serials and television show, the Fleischer series served as the foundation for the Batman and the Superman animated series by Bruce Timm in the 90s, and comics throughout the decades. Superman fans on YouTube might recognize the influence in another incarnation, the viral animated shorts by artist and animator Rob Pratt, Superman Classic and Bizarro Classic. I caught up with Rob earlier to discuss his great shorts and the importance of the Fleischer Superman series on his work. Hey Rob, how's it going?
All right, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad I was able to get in touch with you. You've done Superman Classic, Bizarro Classic, as well as the Flash Gordon, which was great. How did you get interested in doing the Superman series?
Well, I've been a Superman fan since I can remember. I even was into him before the Christopher Reeve movie came out. I remember seeing the first image of Christopher Reeve because I had loved the Adventures of Superman starring George Reeves. Mm-hmm. And then I saw that image of Christopher Reeve in the newspaper and was like, oh my God, he's got the curl in the hair. He looks exactly like the comic book drawings. So my love for the character goes, really, really early on. And then, I got into animation and I saw those Fleischers and they're outstanding. And then, but there's always something you want to add to it. And I have the Disney style of upbringing where the eyes can pop open and stuff. And they did those kind of steely-eyed, drawings in the Fleischers. Mm-hmm. So I just, it was always kind of a back burner thing. And then when you work in animation, there's times that you have space in between jobs. You always have to line up your next job. So I kind of always had it in the back of my mind to animate my own thing. I wanted to kind of learn how to do filmmaking in my own home office. And then, so all of this came together when I met John Hames Newton, who I recognized at a Halloween event. And I recognized him as Superboy from the 1980 series.
Yeah.
And I went up and introduced myself, and we hit it off. And then that's when all these ideas were coming together where, oh my God, I think I'm looking at an unemployment period. Instead of sleeping in every day, I'm going to wake up early and work on my own Superman thing. And I've always loved everything about those Fleischers. And it's not just the Fleischers. I just love that era, that World War II era. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, and I love the Bugs Bunny shorts from that period. I just love that era anyways. So it was like, whether those Fleischers existed or not, I always figured, oh, if I was going to animate something, it'd be Superman, but it'd be in that World War II era, his natural era that he comes from.
Yeah.
And then I loved that Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow and thought it was gorgeous. So I kind of, when I became close friends with John, I kind of grabbed a lot of images from Sky Captain and said, like, man, I think I want to animate this like a little 1-minute thing. I love the old Saturday matinee serial music from the Kirk Allen series. And as much as I love the John Williams music, I thought, oh, it's a piece of music of Superman that is a little bit more obscure now. Mm-hmm. Maybe, and it's short, it's 1 minute. Maybe I can animate almost like Fantasia, where you have the music first and then you animate all the beats of movement to that music. So the end result, it looks like it was scored to your animation when it was really backwards.
Nice.
So I got about halfway into the pitch, and then John, he's like the greatest guy, so nice. Even before I asked him, he said, oh my God, this sounds great. I'll do the voice for you. All right, that's where I was getting to.
Oh, nice.
So like, it all came together. So it was that 1 minute piece of music, but then there's, I had to use John's voice, so there was a little piece that wouldn't have the music yet. And then, what's funny is luckily I never ended up being unemployed. The whole thing, I got such a fire in my belly to do it. And I had work, and I just stayed up late every night when the family had gone to sleep and worked on it, and it took about a year. And then it was just, I'm so happy with it, but then I look at it now, and there's things that I've learned, but it was definitely a thrill to do, and John dug it, and his wife did Lois Lane, and she was fantastic.
Yeah, she was great.
It was just incredible. And, I know a lot of this, what we're talking about is the Fleischers. And it's funny, I love those Fleischers. I told you I loved the Christopher Reeve, the first image I saw of him, and I love those Superman movies with him. Mm-hmm. And I love the George Reeves series, but I think if I had to nail it down to my absolute favorite version of Superman on film, it's those Fleischers. And it's funny that it's the first filmed version of Superman. Mm-hmm. They just hit it so square on the nail right out of the gate. I mean, those things are gorgeous, and I know kind of a little bit of the backstory about the budgets were like 3 times the amount of money they were spending on Popeyes. Uh-huh. Just lush and gorgeous and beautiful, and there's no way my background art could ever touch them, but that is definitely kind of what I was going for. And then, the things to be, like I said a couple minutes ago, to add to it, to make something new. The Clark had the steely eyes that weren't as expressive in the way that I feel Disney animation is. So it was an opportunity, and so much has come along the way where the Christopher Reeve, I think really, he's my favorite version of Clark Kent, because I think Superman is a nerd empowerment story. It's about all of us who are nerds that draw. Just to get through the day, we have to have this fantasy that, well, maybe I'm not really a nerd. It's only a disguise. I'm only pretending, and I got to keep it a secret. Mm-hmm. If everybody knew, oh my God, stand back, because I'd be handsome, I'm super, and everything. So I like what Reeve really brought that to the character. He played that to the hilt. Mm-hmm. So I thought, wow, what if it was kind of like the Fleischers, but then it had Disney animation where the eyes could pop or they could squint, and then to be the Christopher Reeve version of Clark. It was just kind of putting all my favorite things together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. No, and it's a huge success. I mean, everybody who I've shown it to loves it. I watch it repeatedly. It's just it's fun to spend some time with. So good job.
Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about was on your YouTube channel. I love this tagline that you have. You say, the Rob Pratt channel, where 2D animation is not dead. And so, people who aren't really familiar with animation or the technology behind it and 2D versus 3D and stuff, they experience these animations. And I think at first when we looked at 3D animation, where that was like a new thing, it was this new element of uncanniness to us, because it was like, wow, that's so even more real, but it's also, not real. And now that that's the norm, I think a lot of people are looking at some of these 2D animation things and having that same sort of fascination with it. So I wonder if you could just talk to us a little bit about what that means that you did this in 2D animation, and what are the merits of that versus 3D, or how does that date back to your Fleischer series?
Right, and the name is not really meant to be a dig at CG. I love CG. Probably my favorite animated film of all time is The Incredibles. So I love the medium. And then really 2D is not dead. It's alive in so many parts of the world. It's just kind of maybe dead here in Hollywood where I live. Mm-hmm. And it would seem like it's a little bit hyperbole. It's identifying myself as a 2D guy because now maybe it can be a little bit more rare, and that could be a way to market myself.
Sure.
But there is something about, I don't want to say anything pro 2D that seems to discredit CG, because I love CG and I work in CG now. Sure. But there is something about rolling the drawings, and maybe it's that throwback to the era that I was romanticizing a moment ago, where it's old fashioned, it's quaint, it's very direct from, at least in the way I do it. I don't have anybody clean up my drawings, so it's very direct from me to whomever's watching it. And there's something about the imperfection, I think, that lends a little charm to it. Even a CG artist would admit when they're posing characters, they're always trying to pose. You never pose somebody standing straight up with each side of the body doing the same thing as the other. You want to do little imperfections because that adds charm and texture and natural flavor to it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you get. You automatically kind of get that stuff with hand-drawn animation, because you're not seeing one drawing moving. You're seeing several drawings that are creating this illusion that it's moving. And you try at your best to make it seem like it's one drawing that's seamless, but it's always going to be a little imperfection, and that's going to give it some charm. And I just still love that stuff. And there's something funny about a funny drawing that in CG you can do, but it's just a different thing. I love the old Looney Tunes Bugs Bunny cartoons, and you just get these expressions in a drawing where it kind of, even the drawing can go off model. Like, I think my all-time favorite cartoon is a Chuck Jones one called Feed the Kitty, where the big dog Mark Anthony is in love with this little cat. Mm-hmm. And there's expressions that Mark Anthony does that are off the model. They're just drawn different from the model sheet to really show what he's feeling. And that's something that's a little bit, it's attainable in CG, but it's much, much more difficult. So I just love that aspect that you can twist and move and change drawings on the fly in a way that you can't really do in CG.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's really interesting. I like the way you put that. So we've had Superman Classic, Bizarro Classic, and Flash Gordon Classic. Is there anything else coming in the pipelines you can talk about yet, or?
Yeah, I have 7 minutes. So all those little mini cartoons, like Superman's 1 minute, Bizarro's 1.5 minutes, Flash Gordon's two minutes. It's just hard to do this much output. But I have 7 minutes of my own guy I've been working on for years and years, named Carman. And nice. He being an LA guy, he's a road rage guy. It's all about muscle cars, and it's kind of like a Larry David thing where he's angry at everybody, but he has the physical embodiment of more like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. He does all the things, road rage, that we would like to do, but we know better.
Yeah.
So it's 7 minutes. What I think I'll do is that would take forever for one guy to clean up. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to clean up 1 minute at a time and post them at, serialized, so they'll all link up together eventually.
Yeah.
And then I think what could be fun is I'll have a minute that'll be in full color, and then a little 10-second teaser for the next episode that'll still be in pencil test.
Oh, nice. That'd be perfect.
The next segment is being worked on.
Yeah. Yeah, teasing people in. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. I can't wait to see that. This is going to be really great. Well, thank you, Rob Pratt, so much for talking to us here and giving us your thoughts and experiences with this. Is there for the fans who maybe are just hearing about your work for the first time or who want to know more, where can we find you out in the internet world?
Well, nowadays it's really easy. If you just look up Rob Pratt, and that's Rob with two B's because I'm a cartoon guy. RobPratt.com is where my portfolio site is, and then I have my YouTube channel, Rob Pratt, where 2D animation is not dead. And you can find all my retro videos there, and if you're into animation, please look at them, and please contact me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I love to talk to anybody who loves animation.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to remind listeners that the Fleischer Superman shorts are now in the public domain and can be found in their entirety on YouTube and elsewhere. Whether you've seen these works or not, I encourage you to watch or rewatch them and take in their beauty, style, and profound inspiration for truth, justice, and the American way. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the superhero stories you love. Thanks for watching.